my colleague from the NFL Media Group and one of the many that are making the Around the NFL podcast the most successful podcast in maybe the history of the NFL Media Group. And then through this Around the NFL label is where you can catch or listen to the only exclusive podcast on the Hard Knocks series with HBO and NFL Films and NFL Network. Dan Hanzus, that's a very long introduction, but you got a lot going on in your life. So thanks for being here.
Very excited. Happy to be here. And Colleen Wolfe is my co-host. Correct. And like me, she's a huge fan of the show. Watched it all the way back from 2001 when Brian Billick was lounging in the hammock, just enjoying life after winning the Super Bowl the previous year. And the second go-around for the Jets and Hard Knocks, and it's been an interesting first two episodes.
Well, I'm sure Colleen was watching that first episodes of Hard Knocks upset about the veteran stadium turf in her local Philadelphia. If you remember, that was one of the first big scenes in the history of Hard Knocks, is that they had to cancel a preseason game because the seams in the turf were not fit properly back where the Phillies had just played. That's how long ago this was. And, maybe in this day and age, we wouldn't see those moments in this 21st century as well. But all that, put that together, that was also back when Brian Billick and the Ravens were coming off their championship season, and he wanted that spotlight to keep everybody kind of focused. What is your sense of episode 2 of Hard Knocks from last night, Dan? What did you like about it?
I thought with the episode 1, the focus was obviously on Rodgers, and it had to be on Aaron Rodgers because he's the sun that everything's orbiting around. And I thought it was smart to show the defensive side of the ball, put a little more focus on that side. Quinnen Williams, cue ball, getting some airtime because, if the Jets are to finally, it's been 55 years, as we know, in February for Super Bowl, this drought, it is the defense that's going to lead the way. And I think it was interesting watching as we saw in the joint practices and some of the dominance by the defensive line there, and then shutting out the Panthers in that preseason game, that's what's going to take them. I mean, Rodgers is the headline here, and if he's proficient or better at quarterback, the offense is going to win games instead of lose them. But the fact that they went through that whole episode, and you barely saw Sauce Gardner, arguably the best player in that defense. You see Will McDonald, with the spin moves that he has, and Jermaine Johnson coming off the edge, and Quinnen Williams in the center. Like, that has potential to be a very special unit. And there was this nice moment where Frank Reich, Panthers coach, kind of talking with Saleh during the joint practice, and Saleh goes, the D-line, that's my baby. And Frank's like, oh, that's always your baby. Calling back to his Niners run as DC there. The Jets have had trouble getting to the quarterback. There's this famous stat that drives me crazy as a Jet fan. Not since John Abraham have the Jets had a true edge rusher. Everything's different now. They could lead the league in sacks potentially. They have that type of ceiling.
Yeah, and that's why one of my favorite moments of the first 2 episodes of Hard Knocks was Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator in episode 1, pointing out a throw that Rodgers made from the right side of the field all the way to the back shoulder in the left. And in one of his many earmuffs type moments of the first 2 weeks, he talked about how the Jets are going to be in every game this year. And my only pushback to that is the Jets were kind of in most games last year because of the defense. What I think he's saying is that they're going to get the points that the defense needed last year for the Jets to have gotten as great as they looked in the first half of the season. They're going to get those points this year, certainly with Dalvin Cook being added and Breece Hall coming off of PUP, and you see all the other weapons that they do have there. But the defense is pretty damn special for sure, and it's good to see them get a little bit of run. Last night. You mentioned earmuffs. I tried it, Rich. I have a boy who just turned 9 on Saturday, Jack, and a nearly 7-year-old Harrison. What's up, guys? Have you, first of all, before you finish, have you inflicted them? Are they following
Harrison
Dad's?
is kind of into Herbert, and I got him a jersey. Okay. I'm giving him the opportunity. I'm giving them both opportunities. I'm kind of putting.
But a Charger fan?
Oh my God!
That's what I'm saying. I'm staying out of it.
Yeah, you're supposed to. If you're going to let him find his own path instead of the Jets, Dan, you should get him some other team that doesn't appear to be so football god afflicted. So
I'm not going to push anything on him. He's on his journey.
Okay, good enough. Good enough.
And you'll like this, Brockman. You have to be a Yankee fan in my house. But I am not, after what I've gone through as a Jet fan, I'm letting you go down your road. But they're kind of gravitating towards the Jets. But I did try to give them a chance to watch Hard Knocks against my better judgment because of some of the salty language.
Yes.
And my wife was sitting on the couch watching it too. She was like, nah, we're cutting this.
It's over.
And it's Ulbricht's fault. It's really Ulbricht's fault.
Well, Saleh went potty mouth last night. But again, like I kind of like seeing that because the Saleh that you see.
Are you touching the best dad?
No, I did.
Because I'm a bad dad.
No. I
just
was thinking to myself, like, I need to, based on your excellent parenting skills, just have to flex a little bit. But when you saw Saleh this past week prior to the game, asked about that offensive line performance in the one joint practice against Carolina that we saw last night, that did lead to Saleh's highly profane soliloquy and message to the team that get your you-know-whats out of your you-know-whats. Although I don't know why I just used the word you-know-what's for head. But long story short is he was very comported in front of the media. I think we even played that soundbite, and we talked about how he paused for a second before he's like, you're a head coach. You kind of won everything yesterday, but we understand that there's still time left. But behind the scenes, he is broken his foot off. And I kind of dig that, and I like seeing that. But that is the ultimate. I think the reason why he was so demonstrative, that is the question. Like, if you're not going to protect Aaron Rodgers, the rest of it simply will not matter.
Yeah, I did like the forthrightness there that he came out and said after that first joint practice where the offense struggled, the offensive line really struggled. He kind of put it out there right to the teams. Like, listen, we were 7-10 last year. And it wasn't the defense's fault. We were known as the team with a very good defense and an offense that basically killed us. I'm paraphrasing. That can't happen again. And he even made the word like, we don't get another chance. And I wonder, and we talked about this on the podcast, how many head coaches in recent NFL history can go 3 years and not get to the playoffs by year 3 and then get a 4th year. And as much as I like Saleh and I feel like things are functional and competent with the organization, I just don't know how Woody Johnson is going to handle if this season did go sideways and they didn't make the playoffs. Is Saleh in playoff or bust mode? It feels like he shouldn't be, but I kind of think he is.
Well, I mean, they're all in, brother.
Yeah.
They're all in, and we just need to see how it plays out. If Rodgers has one of those rare seasons where he can't answer the bell 16, now 17 times, and they are forced to go with Zach Wilson, then every move that they made in this non-playing season goes right down the tubes, straight down the tubes, because we're just assuming, even though he can tell the difference between Rodgers' run and play fakes, which is a great scene last night. That's it. He's not. They went for Rodgers because they knew choosing him when they did and what happened, he's not ready for this moment. And the rest of the team is, and you can see how the rest of the team is gravitated towards Rodgers like as a sigh of relief, but also a general burst of excitement because they do see the difference and they can tell the difference and they know how good they can be. You're seeing that all play out through the first 2 weeks of Hard Knocks. And it's the truth. That is the truth. So I don't know. Let's see how it plays out, why they would miss the playoffs before you hang it on the coach.
Sure.
But if you're Woody Johnson, you're like, I'm sick and tired of getting my ass kicked. Let's go get the quarterback right. If we can go get this guy and we can pay him and my people tell me this is the thing, and then let's do it. To their credit, they did it. Like, they have set it up and they are ready to go. And I do think they do have the coach, as long as he doesn't have those, final 2-minute clock management issues that might befall a third-year coach in the NFL. They are set up for success, Dan. They really are.
Here's the magic of Hard Knocks, too.
Yeah.
That I've seen 2 years of Zach Wilson, and history is instructive, as my late great friend Chris Wessling often said on Around the NFL.
Attaboy.
Usually, if you kind of stink in your first 2 years, and if you have decent supporting cast around you, as he did last year, it's probably not going to happen. And yet, I watch these first 2 episodes, and I see him complete like a wide open play action goal line touchdown pass, and I'm like, I think Zach Wilson's starting to get it. I think we'll be okay if Aaron has to miss a couple of weeks. But it is, to me, like, of all, the 2 things with this team that really jump out is the offensive line going to be okay? And the thing that I keep on going back to, and this is part of just being a tortured fan of this organization, if Rodgers misses time, the fact that it is Zach Wilson who's one heartbeat away, and this guy that, like you're saying, in these episodes, these players on this team are celebrating essentially that Wilson's not there anymore, that he's not the guy.
Yeah.
And now he's so close with a 40. There was a report yesterday, Rich, that Rodgers pulled his other calf because he's 40 in December. And it's just like, he's close, Zach Wilson, to being the face or the front of that offense. And that makes me crazy nervous. And I need that Hard Knocks juice to give me some sense of confidence and not fear.
Well, again, I mean, when Saleh said we were 7-10 last year for a reason, that's you're basically calling out Zach Wilson in the meeting. But you can't blame him for saying that because it is the truth. Aaron Rodgers is here because Zach Wilson. If Zach Wilson was like Trevor Lawrence, then Aaron Rodgers might be either still on Green Bay or done. Like, because I don't know what other team would have gone and gotten him, and that's nothing against him. He's an expensive guy who's getting up there. The Jets absolutely needed him, and he has shown up in the right way with the right mindset and hopefully the right body. But that's your point, Chris Brockman, is we're talking about them not making the playoffs because Rodgers can't answer the bell. Your point is if Rodgers answers the bell and he's not as good as we expect him to be,
right,
then that's the issue for the New York Jets this year as well.
Yeah, and just looking at Zach Rosenblatt, I know you guys hate the live tweeting of practices, but they're playing against the Bucs right now, and Rodgers 11-on-11 opens with 2 sacks. So that's a huge issue in the offensive line. And if he gets beat up, then what? You know, he had the injury last year because he was beat up, and he clearly wasn't in MVP form. And he is turning 40. Your body does feel different after that. We'll see. I'm pulling for you guys.
He's not.
Please.
He's definitely
He's not.
I know who you are, sir.
The only thing he's rooting for pulling is another one of, I guess,
a groin.
Rodgers is out of calves to pull at this point, is what you're saying.
Can't do more.
You know, but
it is unique. I always look at someone because I used to do kind of the Hard Knocks beat for NFL.com. Give me something new and fresh. Rodgers is by far kind of the biggest name quarterback ever to be on the show. And the Wilson of it all is truly unique. This number 2 overall pick 2 years ago, now in this situation. You see it around the league in some of these interactions that we're getting from NFL films. Adam Thielen coming up to him after the second game, you know, giving him words of encouragement. Jeff Ulbrich before the game, hey man, smile, have fun. Rodgers obviously giving him special attention. Like, they know he's kind of in a weird spot, and I think it's kind of an interesting, unique subplot for the show.
Well, it also, again, just to bring it all full circle, he might have to play this year. He might have to play this year, and if he does, he's got to be ready to do it because the rest of the Jets are. I mean, they have done exactly what they needed to do for a team that missed, let's call it what it is, missed on the quarterback at 2nd overall a couple of years ago because he was not ready for the moment. And maybe the way that Joe Douglas drafted was so damn good, a lot of folks are kind of surprised that they're ready to win right now, that they do have the team to win right now. And to their credit, they went ahead and, you know, I know there's a lot was made of the list that Rodgers put out there. But
the ransom list.
But they didn't bring any slappies. I mean, they brought in Alan Lazard. Randall Cobb, one will believe, will give you the Jets significant plays this year. It will happen. It did last year, even when Randall Cobb was healthy. Mecole Hardman, Corey Davis, Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook. We're not even mentioning the tight ends that can actually perform very well. It is down to, can Rodgers still do it? Can he stay healthy? Can he be protected? Because the defense is ready to roll.
Yeah, I love as an outsider, I love the Quinnen Williams aspect of last night. That was really fun. And then him talking with Rodgers, oh, I had 10 sacks. And then he looks at Rodgers, right. 11 because he got another one. Like, defensive line is incredible.
They're ready to go. They're ready to go. And then Dalvin's going to arrive, and we'll see what happens. Any idea, Dan, about what the split's going to be? Use of Dalvin and Breece Hall coming back. Michael Carter sitting there. They drafted the kid out of Pitt, too.
Right. So Breece Hall comes off the PUP list the day after they announced the signing. And then there's this sneaky other subplot in terms of health that Dalvin Cook himself is coming off a shoulder surgery. So we'll see when he's able to get in there. It feels like it would be smart, I would think, for something close to a 50-50 split. And then if Hall can regain that juice, I mean, could you flip Dalvin Cook at the deadline? You have some depth at
look at you.
running back.
Look at you. The guy's just showing up on a jet right now, and you're already trading him away from the Jets?
That's spicy.
That's the way to show up.
It's a 1-year deal.
Dude, so Breece Hall comes back, and then Dalvin Cook can be flipped for assets?
I kind of like Michael Carter, even though he struggled last year. And I'll just say Breece Hall is that good. And I don't know
he is.
If Dalvin Cook, is he going to be cool with Breece Hall being the dude if all of a sudden Hall is once again that guy? I don't know if 1 year back if you're going to get that Breece Hall, which is why it was another smart move that the organization and Joe Douglas, who, by the way, was the first Turk in the history of Hard Knocks for the Baltimore Ravens in 2001. I wonder if Cooks are going to be okay with this role once Hall's healthy. We shall see.
Good nugget. Let's put a bow on this. And can you stay to the top of the hour? Great, because we'll talk about the rest of the NFL with you. But just to put a fine point on this, so everyone understands, with two Jets fans talking about this, I think this is a very reasonable conversation that we're having. I would like points for that.
Do you want the pom-poms for the next segment?
I am not a 54-year-old cheerleader. I'm not putting on any gear.
I don't know how
I thought this was a very reasoned, measured conversation, because the bottom line is this. And I'm sure I sit here and I think to myself, what are like Chiefs players or coaches or Bills players or coaches thinking when they see folks like us talking like this? Or maybe so, and it's totally understandable if they would, because they have a team that has been there and done it. They've got their quarterbacks. They've tinkered. Okay, they've tweaked. Okay, the Bills did some tweaks, and I don't even know what the Chiefs do. They run it back. They just get better by just taking all those rookies last year and now having them have a ring on their finger and more experience with Mahomes and Kelsey and Reed. I totally get it. But just to put a fine point on it, and you chime in if you will, we have been kicked in the nards so many times. And the hope we would enter a season with always had reasonable, beyond reasonable senses of doubt. This year is a totally different ball of wax. There are doubts, but there is no doubt this is the best Jets team and chance to go deep into the playoffs. If not, finally, you and I cover a Super Bowl, Dan.
Don't say it.
And seeing in green the four-letter word that starts with a J.
Oh.
On the turf.
Put the hyphens in there too. Just get the
exactly
crowd
right.
hyped up.
So this is we are not pie in the sky, head in the clouds, in the sand. This is real. This is real, and we are allowed to do what we're doing right now.
Well, I mean, the Brockmans of the world get to go to the Super Bowl 9 times in 20 years. Or
exactly.
Whatever. So just one. Just one.
I know that, and I
don't need more than that.
And the smugness. The smugness is
it's earned.
It's not appreciated, as earned as it may be.
We're meeting on the yacht later.
Because again, like, you want to talk hope. We're not sitting here hoping for Malik Cunningham to give us some reps. Okay? We're not hoping. We're not hoping. We're not hoping. We're not hoping. So if there's more of a heavy lift of hope in this room,
heavy lift of hope,
it's for that guy, not us.
Right.
Not us.
I think what's a little mind-bending for Jets fan is the logic checks out.
Yes, it does. Logic boxes are getting checked.
Yeah.
The Cowboy fan behind you is not saying a word, because he knows week 2 will be a possible issue, because somebody who has solved that Dallas Rubik's Cube many, 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 many times is coming wearing green this time.
I want to argue this point, but I already chalked up that L on my prediction, so I can't go back.
What's the L in your prediction?
I said that I gave you guys the W against us. I already said that we're going to lose to you, and now I can't take it back. Otherwise, I would have something to say.
Your finger's on the chess piece all the way up until the beginning of the season.
I also just think for you guys, there's no Vernon Golstons, Kyle Brady's, Christian Hackenbergs, D. Milliners, Blair Thomases on this team. Okay,
you left out Kajana Carter.
I didn't want to. He wasn't a Jet.
Oh,
he was a Bengal.
I know.
Could have been one. Would have been a good.
But I'm
fit.
just saying, there's actual, real solid,
Right.
very good, high-quality draft picks who are turning into stars on your team. So you're kind of out of excuses. Like, the hype is real.
But you know what? I'd rather be out of excuses than hope. That would be.
Well
Good
said.
luck. Good luck.
What are you guys talking about over there?
Most infamous
infamous
games
game
you were
you were
at
at.
that you bought a ticket to
That
go to.
something's like
Because Dan revealed he was at the fake Spike game.
You were, huh?
Yeah.
trying to think of what
Tough one. That beat.
Tough one.
That'll leave a mark.
as a fan.
Man, Marino, he just.
Oh,
I mean,
All 4 touchdowns to Mark Ingram Sr.
well, Dan
From
Marino.
Louisville.
Dan, like, if you had to rank the people who love to beat the Jets the most, Belichick's clearly number
his own
one of
class.
all time. He's in his own world. But Marino is maybe number one in terms of players.
That's a good
yeah.
one.
He loved beating the Jets.
That's a good one.
You remember that Dan, like Ken O'Brien beat him like 51-45?
Wesley Walker.
I will. That was one of my greatest moments of my life. I'm like, wow, maybe we did get the right guy from Cal. Who, by the way, he was at the Hall of Fame.
He was.
He got a shout out from Klecko. He was there for Klecko.
Klecko.
Joe wasn't there.
Ken
was he?
O'Brien. Namath?
Yeah.
I did not see him there.
No,
No,
I don't think he was. I was a little nervous about that.
I didn't
Ken
see him
O'Brien
there.
was good.
I was a little worried about that.
Yeah. Okay. So you were there for so which game? I don't know. I was there for the helmet catch.
Yeah,
But as a fan,
fan,
Oh, as a
you
fan,
bought a
like
ticket.
go to a game.
Yeah.
I've never seen any.
Oh!
What, Mike? What?
Buckner's not really you can't count Buckner.
What are you
missing.
talking about?
Does Buckner count?
Were you at the game?
Yes.
Does Buckner count?
What do you
would be
mean?
Like V game.
Does
Would that be
One of the most infamous
I was at-
baseball
before I was
games
at both of
ever.
those games. Was that
Oh, I was at the Jeffrey Mayer game. Does that count? Like that's like the
Buckner-
same
yeah,
thing
exactly.
almost.
Buckner would be. Yeah.
Oh no, I was
As a
there.
fan.
I was there for the Bartman game. Does that count? Like how many more? Like what? Yes, the
yeah.
Buckner
Buckner
game
game. All right.
counts, Mike.
But you're a Mets guy.
No, he's
No,
not.
I was for that time because the Yankees sucked.
Oh, but he also found,
I flip-flopped.
founded the K Corner too.
I did found the K corner.
Okay.
No, he didn't.
No, I didn't. I'll take credit.
Back here on the Rich Eisen Show on the radio network, along with our Roku channel stream with Dan Hanzus of Around the NFL. And everybody should check out the only podcast that is official to cover Hard Knocks with Dan and Colleen Wolfe. Every single Tuesday it comes out after the latest episodes of Hard Knocks. So,
We're in the credits this year, Rich.
oh, is that right?
Oh yeah.
I did see that. At
That
the
is
end,
that.
right?
We've reached the mountaintop, my friend.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
See, did you freeze it on the screen?
Oh, yeah.
Damn straight you do.
You got to do that.
Of course you will. Hey, next year you'll get a helicopter sent for you.
I would like that. I would
Why
like,
not?
yeah,
You'll
Liev
get
Schreiber
the Liev treatment.
voicing it would be the next step. Getting that plug.
The biggest story that will wind up being a nothing burger that we've been covering over the last several weeks, if not months, will be what? Dan Hanzus.
Stephon Diggs hates his teammates and Josh Allen.
Okay.
That felt like such a June type. He doesn't want to be at mandatory minicamp, and he's just kind of annoyed.
But when
story.
Sean McDermott said he was very concerned about it, that's
Little bit
the
of a
end of
reveal.
that. And the same thing that, Eric Bieniemy is such a hard ass. That may be a big nothing burger, but the reason why it was a something burger is the head coach said something.
Right.
So McDermott saying, I'm very concerned, that put it on the front burner for me and caused me to ask about a half dozen guests about it over the following 2-3 weeks. And I understand June is June and we're waiting for stuff to talk about. But I could totally understand that means nothing.
He's an emotional guy, obviously, and that's part of what makes him great.
Yes.
I think is his passion. And I think with the Bills, we did something on Around the NFL a couple weeks back, the urgency meter, like what teams have the most urgency. The Jets are very high on that list, but I had the Bills at a perfect 10.0 because they've gotten so close now and they can't get over the hump, and you kind of could feel the vice tightening around them as they get beat in the snow in Western New York by the Bengals last January. And then you go into this year and it's like, okay, is this going to be the year? And I think some of Diggs' frustration, I'm just throwing it out there, is tied to that idea that they keep on, it's expected to be this is our year, and then it's not your year. And then that starts to, I think, build in terms of frustration, bad vibes.
Well, in terms of the Bills, I can't put them anywhere on the urgency list because
Really?
Josh Allen's going nowhere, man. You know, like that's to me what urgency. Or the Jets are more urgent because Father Time might be ticking for Aaron Rodgers. And then, you know, the undercurrent of the whole Zach Wilson thing is that, it'll be like the ultimate thing is Rodgers will do great. But, you know, the Super Bowl III trophy won't be alone anymore. He'll go right off into the sunset and hand things off to Zach Wilson, who will only probably have an overcapped team that makes Mike Tannenbaum's world, look completely, in order. I don't know. You know, obviously in Joe Douglas we trust. To me, that's more urgent than the Bills. And plus, last year, as much as you want to pin anything on Allen's inability to make smart plays in the red zone or whatever, I think they've tweaked and fixed that this year. But what they went through last year from a shooting in right at the outset of the season, they had to play in Detroit in back-to-back games, once as a home team, DeMar Hamlin. I mean, what are you going to really just put it all back together? And obviously Joe Burrow and the Bengals came and kicked their ass in the snow. I mean, that happened. But I'm that's why I wouldn't be urgent on
all right,
that
let me frame
regard.
it like this then, because during the break we were talking a little bit about Marino, and
yes,
he gets the Super Bowl year 2, never gets back, and Josh Allen has plenty of time, but these certain windows are finite, right? Mm-hmm. And I think this team with this coaching staff in this moment, it feels like we're ready to go, and sure, they could reload and have another 10 runs at this, but for this particular era of Bills football, it does feel like there should be a Super Bowl berth in there somewhere.
Yes.
If it's not the Jets, as a fan of the Jets, I'd like it to be the Bills, because that's a team and a rival that I kind of feel empathy toward, because they've been through a lot as well as an organization, as a fan base.
Yes.
Look how magnanimous I am.
We
Rich.
share the Tom Brady scars.
Yes, that's true.
That's for sure. So in the couple minutes I have left here, the team that we're not talking about enough is which? So you can't include the Lions. You can't include, the Jaguars are even getting discussed enough, I would think, but you never know.
This is going to sound insane.
Okay, go.
But the Cowboys.
Uh-oh.
I know that doesn't make sense, but I just think it's kind of all there for them. And if the Eagles come down a little bit, I don't think it's crazy to see them as a team that could take that division and all of a sudden have a 1 seed in the NFC. I think the defense is loaded. I think Dak is going to be better and healthier this year. I think the Brandon Cooks move gave them some balance.
Yes.
Tony Pollard gets healthy here. I thought they would end up with Zeke. I thought he would end up coming home. That didn't work out. Their depth at running back. But then there's Deuce Vaughn, who everybody's excited about. They would be the team, I think, maybe people are just assuming they're going to be the Cowboys again, and they'll do what the Cowboys do, which is either flop or win 11 or 12 games and then go one and done. But I kind of like them. I kind of like them maybe finally getting back to the NFC title game and truly being in the mix.
So then would you say the Steelers are the AFC team? Browns are the AFC team nobody's talking about?
On the AFC, the Browns, to me, are the team. And it's thorny because people don't want to see this as a potential situation, but you look at their roster and you look at both sides of the ball, and Deshaun Watson, as bad as he was for 6 games to end last season, I think it's way more likely he regains his Texans form. And that's another team that's sneaky, has a really strong offensive line, a defense that got better. Elijah Moore was an interesting add to that offense. Amari Cooper, I think, is going to be the man there again. And I like Njoku, is kind of a guy that could really break out in a big way with a full year of Watson. I think that's a loaded division, the North, and a competitive division, but I'm picking the Browns to win it.
Dan Hanzus, thank you for coming on here, man. Every single Tuesday, check out him and also Colleen Wolfe together on the only podcast that will be able to play clips from Hard Knocks, and it's part of the Around the NFL label. Kurt Warner, our NFL Media Group colleague, coming up. Still have about a couple minutes left right here. Okay, so what have we not covered here?
Russell Wilson?
What do you think? What's your 2 cents? That's it. Okay.
Great. Geno Smith.
Geno's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Dan Hanzus
Great.
makes noises. That's the new segment right here. But what else?
Love it. Tua.
Tua is interesting. I think Tua is a guy that the Dolphins, if everything goes right for them, kind of
Yes.
like the Jets, they're similar. Like you can make a case for the Dolphins playing in late January, but there is that injury concern. Mike White was a nice pickup, I thought. He was a little shaky in the first preseason game. They're going to need him to be better because I think he's going to play games. History tells us that.
You could make the case that there are more teams that you could make the case for playing in late January in the AFC than there are teams that are not.
Smells like a top 5 later this year.
But I'm serious. You could make the case for every team in the AFC East and the AFC North
Yep,
to play late into January.
for sure.
Okay. The Texans are out.
Texans are out.
Colts are out.
Colts are out. Panthers are out.
Are the Titans out? No, I'm talking the AFC.
Oh.
Titans are out.
Titans are out.
Or you could make a case.
I don't know
Titans,
about that.
Titans.
Jaguars, you can.
Yep.
And every team in the AFC West.
Broncos, you'd have a
Broncos
tougher
feels like a
case.
Can't.
stretch.
Raiders feel like a stretch.
But the Chargers, you can.
I think so, yeah.
So there are more teams in the AFC that you could make that case for than none.
yes.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.